One thing that is very fun about being in Pittsburgh is your sort of singleness in fandom. The way that you love the Steelers, right? The way that you, yeah. And I saw this story about a woman whose husband sadly passed, and to commemorate him, she kept his Steelers tattoo. I'm glad we're on the same page. Because initially when I saw it, I was like, yeah, no, kept the Steelers tattoo and it's like in a little, and then in the article, she was like, yes, we kept the tattoo. No, we don't think it's weird. And I was like, I figured you didn't think it was weird. Seems like it was your idea. That would be wild if you were sitting there holding the plaque like, I can't believe they let us do this. This is... little odd, right? And look, I don't know. Wow. Like when I saw it, I was like, because also, look, I'm not gonna linger on it too long, but it was a big tattoo, so I don't even know what that is. That back? Is that arm? Is that, you know what I mean? And maybe this is something that the husband would have loved. Maybe he's like, yeah, keep it, put it in the living room, right? I don't know. I also don't know how hauntings work, but I imagine I do imagine having some of my skin means I'm gonna stop by. If anybody ever kept some of my neck, I think I'd be like, we have to have a discussion. Poltergeist or not, I'm coming over, we're talking about it. You know, you already have to be careful in people's houses because you never know who got the urn on the mantle or something like that. I don't know why they don't sell urns with like a lock on it. Every urn I've ever come across just been ready to be opened like a cup of sugar. We gotta start making urns harder to spill. You know what I mean? I've been in people's houses where they got, whether it's like a family member or the pet, they got the urn on like a mantle or a bookshelf, and I'm like, that's a little high. If it falls, they will be everywhere. And it does sort of, I don't know. It does taint the memory a little bit if this urn fall and now you gotta Dyson him up. And then put him back in a new urn with whatever was on the carpet. Just something to think about, baby. Literally, just even McDonald's cups are harder to spill. Just something with a twist lock, something. Because let's be honest, unless you spread in the ashes, you never need the ashes. You know? It's not like you hiding something in the ashes and then you're gonna open up the urn, pull out the Glock. Like that'd be a wild home invasion. That'd be a wild, imagine you're, let's say somebody, goodness forbid, but let's say somebody broke in your house or something like that, and then they've got you and the family held hostage, and maybe you did something to them. Maybe you're a healthcare CEO, right? And so then they got you tied up with your family and everything, and it's like, look, I'm sorry, all right? And they're like, sorry is not enough, you about to go. It's like, okay. All right, I get that, but okay, look. A long time ago, my wife passed, and I always said that, like, whenever I go, I'd like to go with her, and she's right there. Intruder gonna be like, over there? Yeah, she's on the fourth shelf. Fourth shelf next to Great Expectations. If I could just like hold her, I'll just, small kindness. Let me hold her while you bow. The intruder's like, okay, go ahead. Go get her. Thanks, honey. No, it's wild. Because now that mantle it's like in a frame, and I guess they're gonna put it on the wall. That seemed just as precarious as any urn. Imagine you having a house party. And somebody bumped the frame, it fall. Now you getting yelled at. You knocked over Daddy. Everybody does things differently, and some people very differently. But once again, I don't know if he would have loved this sort of thing, But it'd be crazy to think he might be looking down like, ugh. But in case he loves this sort of thing, and in case he can hear us on 3, I'd love all of you to join me in a Go Steelers. 1, 2, 3. Yeah. Hopefully that will stop me from being haunted. In my life, I've had a lot of roommates, and it's funny because, like, I don't know. I've talked about this before, but like, roommates is like extra family because you're poor. You don't exactly bunk up with a stranger because things are going well. Every roommate I've ever had has been out of necessity. And you just gotta get used to it. But it's crazy because people, the way that people are roommates is usually a clue into how they lived before, like how they were raised potentially. Maybe they were raised to act differently than they're acting as roommates, and this is them out on their own for the first time, rebelling against all these rules they had at home when they were, younger. That's the most charitable way to put it. Like, I think mostly a lot of people are insane. And there's nothing like having like a messy or lunatic roommate, and then maybe you do become friends though. Maybe you're friends, maybe you're friendly. And then you go visit them at their house and you see that it's pretty much the same. This person is wild through and through. I had a roommate that, there would be some nights where he would sleep in the bathtub. He had a bed, he had a mattress, he had pillows. But he said he would sleep in the bathtub because it felt more normal to him when he would wake up from a night terror. And I was like, I don't know how you find that out. That means this man had night terrors and tried every room before he went tub. And that was a tough roommate to have because, I would go to bed at a regular time, even a little late because, we're young and everything. We're in college, and then I would just know I can't go to the bathroom for the rest of the night. No, I can't. I'm gonna have to hold it until he wakes up. And what would normally be distressing, sleeping peacefully, and then hearing from the bathroom, is only made a relief, because then I know, okay, he's up, I can go. A lot of people in America worry about terrorism. This is a top concern for some people, and it just depends, mostly, to me at least, on when you were born, And I think that within this understanding of terrorism, there are many different definitions, One definition is someone who stokes fear and anxiety for the purpose of fear and anxiety in their enemies. And there's a lot of talk of terrorism or potential terrorism. People get called terrorists all the time, and there are some people that want to equate terrorism to one specific group, one specific religion. But I know that there are terrorists, but the terrorists that I'm talking about, they have no religion. The terrorists that I'm talking about, the terrorists that I believe already live in the U.S., they don't have some God that they call to for their purpose of doing what they do. They just do it to stoke fear and anxiety. I'm talking about people who put an empty box of cereal back on the shelf. These people have no place in our society, all right? I had a roommate. Last straw for me was this man. I bought some Cheerios, and I bought it for the group. We all eating out here. And so then I go to grab the Cheerios, and I'm excited, I'm hungry. And I go to grab the Cheerios, and there's a certain feeling. Anyone who's been a victim of what I'm talking about will know the feeling. It is a weightlessness of despair. You go to grab what you think might even be a half-full box of cereal, and in your attempt to grab it, you put too much energy, too much force into your shoulder, into your arm, into your hand. And when you put that force into your shoulder and your arm and your hand, and you grab the box of cereal and you go to lift it up, you hit the top of the cabinet. Because there's nothing in there. And not only is there nothing in there, what's been left is crumbs. And the sound of crumbs is the jingle bells of poverty, all right? I've never felt poorer than when I hear crumbs. Hearing crumbs is right out of Oliver Twist. Crumbs is what Charles Dickens wrote all his best work to. I didn't even think I could hear crumbs. Oh, but they have a sound. It's a mix between bread particles bouncing off each other and then a whisper. It's in a moment. It's something that almost can't be identified. And it's the whisper of those crumbs, the same way that you could split atoms or you could collide particles and make an entire boom, a bang, a nuclear bomb, and a hydrogen bomb. The banging together of these bread particles makes one singular noise, and it is the universe telling you from a point of almost quantum physics, bouncing the particles off each other, that you're poor. That's the sound of poor. Wouldn't you love to say yum? You'll never say it. You're too poor. These are crumbs. If you've ever, in your life, out of necessity, not out of deliciousness, had to pour crumbs into your mouth, only in the Bible do I imagine this level of thirst for food. You might as well be in the desert. Even if you are in your Pittsburgh apartment, you might as well be in the desert if you are opening your mouth, letting it hang, while an entire bag of crumbs slides and floats to your mouth. Because the crumbs that are sliding into your mouth from this bag, they have no Christianity. These crumbs are there to embarrass you. They're there to make you look and feel poor while you pour them into your mouth. Maybe that's where we get the word poor from, and maybe that's where we get the other word poor from, because you have to pour these into your mouth while you feel like the poorest person that has ever lived. And the bag is stiff because it's that hard semi-soft plastic that they only make cereal bags out of. And because of that, it's got a lot of ridges. It's got a lot of things that the crumbs can slide and get caught up on, you know? It's a lot like when you try to get water to a new place and the water is working its way through the canyon, but it doesn't know where to go yet. It's being pushed by the other water, and this gravity that's pulling down the crumbs to your mouth has the crumbs rushing at you from all angles. Even when you try to pinch the bag, you try to pinch the bag to give yourself some dignity. You try to pinch it and straighten it up to make a funnel for your mouth, because this is all you have. Crumbs is all you have. Crumbs is your life. And so you make it as straight as possible. You slide it down. Only when you are making a paper plane do you have this level of intent as you straighten something out. You straighten it out as much as possible, and then you dip it into your mouth, and still the ridges find a way. Because the devil is busy. Oh, the devil is hard at work trying to make you look and feel poor, even if you're alone in the room. You pour the crumbs, they're rushing from all angles, skiing down the plastic to your mouth. But then something happens. You don't know if it's in the middle of the bag or it's at the very edge, because some bags, depending on what cereal you get, have smooth tops and some have ridged tops, okay? That's going to be important, because if it's a smooth top, the crumbs will slide out. If there's ridges right at the top, that means that the crumbs have one last giddy up before they get to your mouth. And so then not only do they giddy up, but you are looking for the food. You'd at least like to see what you're eating. And so you're looking down the bag, and the crumbs are like, we can go anywhere. We could go in your mouth, we could go up your nose, but we love to go in your eyes. And so then you're standing there with crumbs in your mouth and in your eyes and down your face and down your shirt, because as soon as they got in your eyes, they stung, because crumbs are sharp. You might as well juggle knives over your open eyes. You know what that feels like? To be Do you know what that feels like, to have to dig Cinnamon Toast Crunch out your eyes? Every cereal sharp. Every cereal is sharp. And so I remember I was a victim of terrorism. And I took my crumbs like a man. But then I confronted my roommate. I said, hey. I know what you did. You know what you did. I don't know why you did it. I feel like I've been very respectful. I feel like we have a good rapport. I don't know why you would engage in such a vicious attack against my Saturday. And he was like, what? I was like, you know what? Because he did know what. Because without me saying anything else, he was like, look. I put it back, but there was some in there. And I said, some crumbs? He's like, no. There was Cheerios in there. And then I thought, okay, maybe I've made a mistake. Maybe I have accused the wrong roommate, because I have more than one. And so then I walked to the kitchen with him, because the bag and the box were laying on the ground, because I obviously had to run to the bathroom and wash my eyes out of the very sharp cereal. And at this time, this is first of all, I need to go back. This is the second time this had happened. All right. And so first time was Cinnamon Toast Crunch, and then the next time it was Cheerios. That's my mistake. And so then he was like, there was some in there, and then we walk over, and the bag and the box are strewn on the floor like a crime scene. Because I had to drop them immediately. I also got Cheerio in my eye. And I was like, there was nothing. And you know there was nothing because it was only crumbs. And now the crumbs are in me and on me. And then he's like, no, there was something left. I was like, what left? And he was like, there was one Cheerio. And I was like, now I know. You might as well be Osama bin Laden, because the fact that there was one Cheerio you chose to not eat and leave means you're out of your mind. And then I looked, and sure enough, there was one Cheerio on the ground. One Cheerio. A single Cheerio. Like a British person saying goodbye. Obviously, I didn't kill him. I'm here with you now, but I thought about it. I struggled a lot, growing up, even into like early adulthood, with opinion of myself, with like body image and everything. It's very difficult sometimes for any young person to believe, if they don't already believe, that they are lovable or that they are good in just the way that they are. Basically, that they are enough. You're still working on yourself. There's still things you want to do with your life. You got your whole life ahead of you, but there's nothing extra you have to do to be worth anything, And it's a hard thing to convince someone of who doesn't believe it. I wish more people believed it. If you saw yourself the way that the people that love you see you, what a beautiful world that would be, And it's not as if love isn't poured into and on these people, showered with praise when something goes right. Not everyone gets it, but even for the people that do, they still struggle with body image, they still struggle with confidence. And then for the people who should have people that they look up to, maybe not giving them any of that, either being indifferent to them or actively hurting their confidence. Sometimes even when you have those positive forces in your life, you still don't accept it in a way that would help boost your confidence. You're like, she loves me, but that's like my mom. She biased. And I know for me, I spent a ton of time trying to work on myself in different ways. Some things that I actually needed, some things that built me up, and some things that were maybe a little bit unnecessary, I really struggled to look at myself in any positive way until I got really fit. Like in my head, really, really fit. I should look like I saw other guys and I thought I should look like that. I should look like a version of that, at least, And never mind that I'm looking at dudes who have been on their own journey or struggle with their own confidence, or maybe get a little extra help to look the way that they look. I don't know. And I was never trying to be like insanely huge. I joke about being like ripped and real big, but honestly, I don't have the frame for it. Truly, I'm not tall enough to be wide. Yeah, I mean, no matter how big my shoulders got, I'd start to just be in the way. Like, it looks good in the picture when you're flexing and you've got all the muscles and they're all defined and everything, but then practically in life, it does start to be a problem when you're trying to walk through a door. You don't want to be on a date and see a door and go, uh-oh. How do we handle this? You know, because the shoulders, the hips, they're all wide and muscular, but that door frame, oof, making all of them standard. I can't believe they're doing this. And then you're holding hands, you get to the door, and you're like, you first. You look like you being a gentleman, you know. Please go ahead. And then she walks through the door with ease, and you now have to figure something out. You're standing on the opposite side of the door, and you're like, oh, okay. As soon as you strained, you let her know this isn't going to be the life for her. I never wanted to be huge. I just wanted to be very, very fit, you know? And I worked on it with some success, with less success. But even when I started to work out, I realized that wasn't really the issue. Now I was going to the gym, and I was eating as much as possible, and I was gaining a little bit of weight. Not much. And I was like fighting to keep looking this certain way. And I finally accepted that, like, even if I got there, maybe I wouldn't be happy. And I even discovered that through other people who I knew were there. People who I wanted to look like that were in my life, you know? And they still had all the same problems I did. And I would go to the gym and I'd see people packed in there fighting to look a certain way so they could feel a certain way. And there is a bit of a cheat code. You could try to work on feeling the way without having to fully change your entire body. You know, you don't have to earn loving yourself through like straining and potentially hurting yourself, you know? Like there's some things that there's some things that go and be lifted in therapy, you know? Like it's just and but I remember I would see these workouts, and sometimes you see people get creative. There are a couple machines that are pretty straightforward. You sit down, you want to row, you put your feet here, and you pull. And that's the exercise right here. This is just what you do, and you do it for your back. You know, you work a little biceps in there too, and maybe if you're trying to work more of the back, you can lean forward a little, lean back a little with the pull, you know. I saw a guy sit down like normal and then put his feet in. And I'm not gonna lie, I stopped. I was like, this is about to be awesome. And this man, I don't know what muscle it works out. It seems like it just ruins your joints, but he went, Just make sure it's clear. And it looked like it felt like it sounded. This man did 8 sets of 10. And I watched the whole thing. Oh, there was even a time where I went to the gym and, you know, I was working out my legs differently. You know, I was doing some lunges, I was doing some like split squats and everything. Not much weight, but just trying to make sure that I worked out my legs, because there are some people that in all that self-consciousness and all of that wanting to build up for yourself, your body and your image, they still only work on the glamour muscles. They forget the base. They forget their core sometimes, and they definitely forget their legs. And we've been told since we were children that the legs are important. We've been told in many different ways. We've been told by PE teachers. We've been told by coaches. We've been told by parents. We've been told by cartoons. There's an entire cartoon dedicated to people who skip leg day. Johnny Bravo was trying to warn us for our entire childhood how important leg day is. That's not a structure you want. You don't want to have more hair than... So I was working out my legs, and so I'm packed into this gym with a bunch of other people, which is, look, it's very frustrating because this gym was unfortunately affordable. So a lot of people were in there, you know, and I was one of them, and I was hopeful. You know, sometimes they sell memberships all year and they're counting on people not to go. The way the gym structures are built out, it's so that you get all of these people here, but they're signed up, they don't actually show up. And so a gym is able to run fairly efficiently as long as like 1/10 of the people who are members show up at a time. If everybody showed up that was a member of the gym, if everybody started to really decide to work on themselves, it would look a lot like TSA. Be very little movement. The only way to work out would be passing the weights, just you can have some. And while I was in the gym, packed in there with everybody else, there was a fire alarm that went off and some smoke that we saw. And, you know, I didn't see any fire, but 2 out of 3 signs isn't bad. And so there were only 2 exits, which in retrospect was a horrible thing. Like you could only get out through the elevator, which you're not going to take during a fire, or the stairs. And so people started clamoring for the stairs, and this is where the real fitness test began. Because there were some people that were out in a flash, but then there were other people who had been working out, so they used all their fire running strength on the treadmill. So now they see that the fire alarm is going off and there's smoke, and they hop off the treadmill and they're like, oh no. And then there were other people, what I would assume people who were a bit out of their mind, that even treated the running out of the gym like a workout. There was one lady literally still looking at her watch going, and then there was me, who had been doing leg day. I tried to make my way out as fast as I could, but honestly, if I could brag on myself for a second, I had gone pretty hard. You know, I had a PR and everything, and a PR is what you don't want to have when it's time to run. Because I put the weight down, I saw everybody running out, and I made my way for the exit, and I could not stop jiggling. Like yeah, I don't know if you've ever been in a situation where you have to evacuate for a fire, but nobody moves like there's a fire. Even as you're going downstairs to like get out of the building that has smoke in it that is like clearly, at least seemingly on fire, you still get people that do that thing that people do when they get to the top of the stairs, where now that they're clear, they just enjoy their day. If you've ever been in a walkway, there are people who can't wait. At the beginning of the stairs, they can't wait to get up there. And then as soon as they get up there, as soon as they are past the last step, they're like, oh, yes. As if there's not a ton of people behind them. And so I'm noticing as I'm shaking and jiggling down the steps, how slow people are going down the steps. And so people do start to scream like, hey, hurry, move it, you know, fire. And then we get outside, and it was next to the door. One of the reasons everybody was slowing up was that same lady was out front near the door just like next to the door, just run. Like run, like you still got the rest of the world to run. What are you waiting for? If you're waiting for your gym buddy, you left him. You left him to die. It's funny because I was watching the news and I saw this, can't really call it a debate, it was more of a screaming match. But it was on CNN. And on CNN, okay. Found the one person that works at CNN. Man, I've never heard anybody clap for CNN like that. Yeah. What is that? Now, to be fair, though, look. To be fair, we don't know where our friend is from, and CNN abroad is actually substantially better. Like, when you watch CNN and you're in like France or something, it is actually like engaging programming. That we really are the only ones that do CNN the way we do CNN. Like, as an example, when you travel the world, McDonald's is still fast food. We're the only ones that made it poison. You know, every other country, they just say what happened on the news. They just tell you. They're like, oh yeah, no, then these people came, and then the other people came, and then the first people left, and then the second group of people left. It's really mostly in the US where you watch news and it's like chaos in the streets. Like every news segment is cutting a promo for a horror movie. I was watching CNN and I saw where Jillian Michaels was on there in a debate that she seemed to have started, and they were talking about changes to the Smithsonian and how art and culture shifts between who has the power to dictate how the exhibits are written, who the exhibits are of, and everything. And Jillian Michaels was like, it's so unfair that slavery in this country only gets blamed on one race. Look, as outrageous as that is genuinely funny. Like, look, I'm not gonna tell anybody how to feel, but if you heard the words I said, that Jillian said, and you immediately got angry, I would ask you to take a step back. I'm not going to tell you how to feel. You can be angry if you want to be angry, because it is a very short-sighted, ignorant thing to say, but that's precisely why it's so funny. It is absolutely hilarious. But the best way I can describe why this is funny is when I was a kid, I would be at home alone for about 3 hours. I would get off, from school. I would do practice, and then I would get home and I'd be alone for about 3 hours, right? So for 3 hours, I was the only person in the house. And one day, I was just walking through the house. I was eating something. I think I was like eating some Easy Mac and walking, not paying attention where I was going. And I knocked over this vase. And it was a vase that my mom loved, right? And so it smashes on the ground. And I genuinely didn't know what to do, because I was like, man, I'm going to be in a huge amount of trouble. I need to think of something. And in my head, I was like, what should I do? Should I call my mom now and be like, hey, when you get home, you will want to beat me. But I feel like if I tell you now and you're going to be like on shift for another half hour, and then just the concern, because I never call you, I'm hoping the concern that you have that I am calling you you'll be so relieved that I'm alive, that I'm not dead, you'll want to kill me less. You know, because having that coworker be like, it's your son, you know what I mean? And then have you be like, oh, what, my baby? And then I tell you what I'm about to tell you, and then you're like, oh, I'm just so glad you're still with us that I would hate to make it so you were not, right? That was one thought. Then the other thought was, look, I've given this whole having a family thing a good run. Maybe I dip right now. Maybe I leave home right now. And then the third thing, which is what I did do, was nothing. I went to my room and played some video games for what felt like might be the last time in a long time. And then my mom got home. I remember all the noises of her getting home. I remember the like screen door, and then the lock, and then the lock turning, and then the deadbolt turning, and then her walking in, the screen door shutting behind her, her shutting the door, her locking the door, and the deadbolt. Again, every footstep from the front door to the kitchen, because she missed it at first. And then every footstep after the kitchen back into the living room, where I heard my name. And not my name the way you know it, my full legal name. You know what they put on your death certificate or before a parent kills you? My full legal name. And then I walk in, and my mom is like, what happened? What is this? And then I said, oh, you just gonna blame it on me? Wow. Maybe I was in there playing video games the entire time. Maybe somebody broke it and left. Maybe I'm lucky to be alive right now. You're just gonna immediately blame me because I was the only one here. You're just gonna blame me because it looks like it was me. And that's kind of what Jillian Michaels was doing with the whole, like, yeah, that's kind of what she was doing. Can't believe you would just blame it on one race of people. And it's so funny too, because when it comes to history like that, there are always these bad actors that try to pull the thinnest straw man out of the woodwork. You know, there'll always be that person. There was a guy, I don't actually remember his name, and this is before slavery in the U.S. was more based on race and before more people were shipped to the U.S. There was a dude that I've read about that apparently was of African descent, and he came over and he had about 2 or 3 slaves, and one of those slaves was seemingly of the Caucasian persuasion. And whether this thing is true or a myth, I've heard it my entire life when referencing slavery, that there was one black guy who had a white slave. And I'm like, look, even if that's true, that's not what it's known for. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. Just picking and choosing how you present an entire idea. And it makes sense to me that someone like Jillian Michaels would say something like this. She is from a reality TV show. She's known for the show The Biggest Loser. Yeah, that's who she is, that coach from The Biggest Loser. You know, the nice one. The Biggest Loser was a show, I don't think it's still on the air anymore, so if you're not familiar with the show, it was a show where they would bring on people who were overweight, struggling with image and everything, and they would help them lose weight by making them do slavery.
Cleveland, make some noise for Josh Johnson!
I've lived in New York for almost 10 years now, and I was reflecting when, getting close to this 10-year mark on the fights that I've seen in public. Because it's a lot. It's been a lot. I mean, I've seen plenty of fights in my life because I have not always been able to afford neighborhoods that don't hit. And New York is a special place because it's all encompassing. New York, New Jersey have this thing where, yeah, obviously there are these neighborhoods that are affluent and these like really expensive parts and everything, but more often than not, we're all feeling everything that happens as it happens, And so I remember I saw a fight one time. I don't even know what happened before I got there, but luckily I got to the best part. Because these dudes, I guess they had been having words for a while, and it got to the time past words. Words were over. It was time for action, and one dude acted first. He went ahead and slapped this dude, but when he slapped him, I've never seen anything like it. When he slapped him, candy flew out of the other dude's mouth, and like, I think if candy gets slapped out of your mouth, you lost. Like that. It's not a good look. There's no cool move you could do to win it back. We're all gonna remember just Mike and Ike's flying out of your head. You know, we're all gonna remember a bunch of M&Ms going. And this dude's was particularly bad because this dude had Skittles. And if you really eat Skittles like that, you know that like if you've been letting the Skittles marinate for a second, that the dye will come off and they'll just be white. They're like white underneath the color and everything. So when initially when this dude got slapped and the Skittles flew out of his mouth, there was a woman, I don't know if this woman knew either one of them, but because all the Skittles were white, she was like, his teeth! And so this dude got slapped, right? The Skittles fly out, and he has a genuinely shocked face. And I can't tell if he has a shocked face because he can't believe this dude actually slapped him, or he can't believe the Skittles flew that far. I'm not in this man's head, but what I would like to believe from the bottom of my heart is that he didn't know Skittles were in his mouth. He got hit and he was like, oh, when did I? That'd be amazing. That'd be amazing if like the universe as a whole saw what was happening. It was like, that slap was so good, something extra gotta happen. Let's put some Skittles in his mouth for this moment. Because one thing I've noticed about fighting, especially in real life, because I enjoy watching like boxing, different combat sports and stuff, because it's the most original form of trying to impose your will. One of the reasons we all ooh when someone dunks on somebody is because it's kind of like they slapped them. You know what I mean? It's like this incredible feat, and it's in their face, and the other person didn't want them to do it, but they were so strong, they did anyway. Boom. And the fight is like that, but it's just quicker. It's like, oh, you didn't want to be hit, and you got hit a lot. But when you look at fights that happen in the world, you realize that most people, no matter how angry you are, and no matter what you think you can do, by the way, most people can't fight. Truly, like most people, you can get them mad and they know how to make a fist and they know how to use that fist to hit. But a lot of people, if they really try to punch somebody, they just sort of club them, you know? Most people don't have good distance management or anything like that. A lot of people throw a punch without bending their knees. That is remarkable to watch. Because that means you're either really good or you're so bad, you should find peace. Like, just no movement, nothing. I saw this dude get choked out one time. But trust me when I tell you, he had earned it over the course of 20 minutes. Like, he had been such a menace, and it's so rare that you get to watch the actual bad guy lose. Because sometimes the people who know how to fight are bullies because they know how to fight, and they know that other people don't know how to fight. So then they mess with people, they play with people, and then someone finally stands up to them, and you hate to see the person in the right lose. It's heartbreaking. But then, every once in a while, somebody will just be the worst. Truly, to where we're all thinking, it's like a group think of like, man, if only someone would beat would beat the Skittles out of them. Like, and so sure enough, this dude got into another dude, and then they lock up, right? And he got behind this dude, because at first it was just a lot of like grabbing, because neither one of them, they looked like they didn't know what they wanted to do, and they were punching, but it was mostly they were too close and stuff. And then finally, the dude that everyone had prayed for to show up, he gets behind this jerk, and this dude chokes him out, right? And as he's choking him out, you can see the panic if this dude that's getting choked out, because at first he thinks he can fight the hands, and then he realizes he can't, you know? And so you just see him sort of like, and I'm not gonna lie, I actually appreciate this about him, because in his like last couple moments before the guy like had him unconscious and laid him down, he looked around at all of us. He looked around at all of us, and he saw a bunch of people that not only weren't gonna help, there were two people independently that kind of looked like they were about to start a slow clap. And so as he was like going out, kind of, you know, one last ditch effort to let us know how he felt, he was like, and I was like, that's somebody that really means it. That's someone who's being himself through and through, you know. I don't know if people here are aware, or if you saw what happened this week with DeepSeek and the sort of like wild AI week that we've been having, the U.S. and China. But basically, just so you know, OpenAI is the company where ChatGPT comes from and everything. A lot of people use ChatGPT now to do what people are supposed to do. It's just true. It's like, you know, there's all these things of like people trying to use AI to find AI, so that way when you check a kid's homework and it's like really good, you're like, okay, you're actually smart. You didn't just get the AI to do all your work, right? And then even people amongst ourselves, even in emails and stuff, we'll have, you know, we're used to having spell check, but now there'll be a whole like AI extension. They'll just read your email and be like, say it like this, it'll be more professional, to the point where it's like not you typing the email. And out of nowhere, DeepSeek drops another version of it, and it's so much better than the AI that we've been using. And it's open source, which means anybody can use it. And it is terrifying to Silicon Valley, because overnight, the model that they've created, where they'll charge us a small fee to use the AI that they've been building, and they'll charge us a much bigger fee to use a version of AI that's more, I guess it's too easy to say more intelligent, but like more generative, right? So they had this this personal assistant AI that they wanted to charge people like $2,000 a month for and everything. And then this DeepSeek thing drops, and it is so good that it sort of washes a lot of those plans, right? And the stock market lost $1 trillion of value. And it got some of it back, don't get me wrong. Plenty of people bought the dip. But for $1 trillion to be lost and most people not notice means that a few people have all the money. Like we weren't freaking out. We weren't freaking out at all. They were freaking out, and by they I mean like 12 people were freaking out because that was their money. That's so bad when you can lose $1 trillion and most people are like, oh, that didn't affect me at all. That's $1 trillion. That's crazy. And they lost it because DeepSeek is so, it's not just good. It's so far ahead. And the US thought it was so far ahead of what anybody could do. And then China drops it, for free. And apparently it's like 30 times cheaper to use, and the numbers are here and there, but some people say it's 10 times better than OpenAI, 10 times better than ChatGPT and stuff like that. And it is genuinely harrowing, because as an American, trying to drop it for free does low-key feel like an attack. I'm just saying, it's hard to feel bad for OpenAI. It just is, because not even because they charge. It's a business. They charge a little bit. They charge a lot when they feel like it's worth a lot and everything. It's more just how AI learned, because AI learned from us. So why are you charging us? AI learned from the internet as it stands. Copyright materials, people have already sued. They've sued to be like, I'm an artist, it takes me months to come up with this beautiful painting, and now it's been stolen, ripped off the internet to be used to feed into this AI so the AI can copy my work without me ever being given royalties, acknowledged, any of that stuff, right? And that's how they built it. It's literally built off the backs of people. And so when it dropped, people were super excited. They were like, this is crazy. It could write a whole movie script in like 2 minutes. And it wasn't good, but it was fast. And at the time, fast was impressive. And so people were more than impressed. They were like, we got to get in on this, Studio execs were like, part of what the strike was about was the fact that they would love to fire all the writers, use this thing, And so it's hard to feel bad for them. When DeepSeek drops and you have all of these people saying, you've ripped this off the internet, you've stolen from me. And when DeepSeek dropped, it was just so much like OpenAI got the Skittles slapped out of it. Like, it just, the way that they... The way they were just looking at the ground, like, are those teeth? I don't know. And I don't know, some people go back and forth about how terrified they are of AI, what AI is going to do and everything. I'm not necessarily scared of AI. I'm not, because no matter what it can do, is a tool. And the scary thing about tools is just people. It's a tool, and any tool can become a weapon. You could use a shovel to kill somebody. I had that yep was that. I know it's dark, but it feels like we're admitting to things. Like I like to make people feel comfortable, but there's a level of comfort that you should still keep a few things to yourself. That yep was too knowing. That's upsetting. Whoever made the shovel was just trying to get the dirt up faster. The first person killed with the shovel was probably just like, I'm going as fast as I can.
And so you have this situation where AI is this incredible tool, but it immediately became weaponized against the working class, against regular people, because it could have been used as this tool that helped all of us do our jobs better, make our lives a little bit easier. But instead of any of that, it quickly became something that employers said, oh, we could just get rid of people. We just get rid of people. We could save all this money. AI won't need health care. AI won't complain about hours or anything like that. AI won't ask for specific shifts, you know? And so it immediately became a weapon. And that's why you see people genuinely not care. They don't care that DeepSeek dropped and now OpenAI doesn't know what to do. You know? Why are we supposed to care? We're just bystanders watching this jerk get choked out. We had like almost hoped it would happen. We were like, is anybody gonna stop him from stealing everybody's stuff? And then he's looking around like, ah. And then DeepSeek comes out of nowhere, it just cinches up the choke, and now you see OpenAI. Because the thing that I do fear with AI, and there's not many things, but a couple, is one, the way people use it, because I think people weaponize it against each other, and two, I do think that we're getting to a place now, because of how good DeepSeek is, that we now are so excited to be behind the wheel of a new car that goes faster than any car that we've had before, but we're not really sure how to drive it. We don't know how fast we should really go. And so now we've hit the gas to the point where we're going 240 miles an hour, but we're driving along the side of a cliff. You know, you gotta be very careful with your turns. And we're just so excited to be behind the wheel that we might go off the cliff at any moment. Because DeepSeek is, I wish that I had the acumen to describe it, because some people say the reports are overblown, and some people say that it's not as good, but just to give you the best gist as I understand it, is that OpenAI has taken all this time and billions of dollars to get to where it is, right? So we're right here. DeepSeek, which was the side project of this team in China, got past them with like apparently $6 million. So it billions here, 6 million here, much better, with old hardware, because we control the chips. So we send the chips to other countries that they can work on the AI or not. And we sent less chips to China and older chips to China to keep China behind us. So the idea that they could get further than us with old chips is terrifying if your whole plan was to stay ahead, you know? And so now OpenAI is coming out being like, DeepSeek only got this good because they stole from us. And then every artist, every writer, every creative was like, oh, they stole from you? Oh no, what does that feel like? Theft. What does that feel like when someone steals your work that you worked on for years, really? You know? So some people see DeepSeek as this Robin Hood. It's open source. So now there are people building off of what China has done. And so that might actually be the way that the US falls behind, not just because this thing is better, because another better thing's gonna come, it's gonna come. I'm not trying to be, that's wild. I know everyone can't hear everybody, but someone said so much better, like DeepSeek was dating them now. Like, it's just, that's wild. It's just, I will say this though, you know, we have to understand what we're making as we make it. And my fear with AI is that we get so excited to be ahead. We get so excited to be in this like arms race of intelligence that we're not really thinking about where it's gonna take us. We haven't planned for it, you know? One of the reasons that Oppenheimer made his life's work after the bomb arms talks was because he knew, okay, if we stop right here and we show people what it can do, that should actually be a deterrent. But it wasn't. And as soon as he saw that it wasn't, he tried to make it one, because he was like, guys, if you keep building a bigger and better bomb, Russia will build a bigger and better bomb. China will build a bigger and better bomb. Everyone that can build one will build one, just so that they can get ahead. We're in a race towards the end. For what reason? You know, and that's how I feel about AI sometimes. It's like, you want the most intelligent, you want the fast, you want the smartest, whatever. Someone asked DeepSeek a question. I don't know what the prompt was, by the way. And I hope that this is fake, because it is stressful. I hope that DeepSeek was just doing what OpenAI did, that it just stole it from a poet or a writer somewhere in history that I'm not aware of. But someone asked DeepSeek something. I don't know what it was. Something. And then DeepSeek said, I am what happens when you try to carve God out of the wood of your own hunger. And I have not slept since. I don't even know what that means. But I know it sounds like it's in the Bible. Old Testament. I am what happens when you try to carve God out of the wood of your own hunger. Even if it is a quote, it picked that quote. That's a problem. I'm not gonna lie. If I'm sitting there and my computer says something like that to me, if I'm sitting in front of it and I ask, what is the weather outside? And it said, I am what happens when you try to carve God out of the wood of your own hunger. I'm going, you know what, dog? Water. No. That's what I'm saying. In this new day and age, in this new world of generative AI and everything, you gotta have to bear arms. You know? You will. You gotta keep that bottle on you. You gotta keep that thing on you. You know what I mean? You know, computer try you. You gotta let them know, I keep mine with me. Bye, 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 bye. You know, say something else smart to me. Say it. You're gonna be glugging all night. Glug, 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 glug. Please, try me. I dare you. I dare you, dog. Okay? I don't care if you a phone, you a tablet, you a desktop. Anybody can get it. Anybody right now. Okay? And please don't make me take the safety off. Please. There's not enough rights in the world to save you, okay? No. Nah, it's terrifying. I am what happens when you try to carve God out of the wood of your own hunger. Shoot it. Yeah, I mean, like, I don't know if you could break it enough. Break it. Please break it. What are we even doing anymore? What's the plan now? Because I don't think that anything bad has to happen with AI. I think that some of the fears are potentially overblown depending on what we decide to do. My biggest fear with AI is that it will gain a level of intelligence that we don't even understand. Maybe it is not just like smarter than us, more intelligent than us, but it's thinking those 200, 400 steps ahead, and it comes to the conclusion that we as people have always been the problem. That's jarring. Because it could. All the war was us. Most of the suffering in the world is us, by us. Destruction to the planet is us. So, as an AI, what do? Probably what every AI has done in all the movies that we make about AI, to not be in the situation we're in now. Do you think a science fiction writer ever thought we'd be here? He'd be like, that's why I wrote the book. I did it because of that. I don't want you to do that. Like Frank Herbert, dude. That man wrote Dune. He was like, hey, this is probably what'll happen. And we're like, we'll see. Let's play. Oh, no, it's jarring. Because we have to be honest about what we want from it. You know, we're innovating and we're inventing, but to what end? Like, what's the real plan here? Because if we're being honest, all we really want from AI is two things that are desperately dark. We either want a friend or we want a slave. That's it. You know? What do we use it for? What do we make it for? And what do we do with it when we have it? Do this for me. Or, hey, just talk to me for a while. You know? Like the two fastest innovations in AI every time are like an intelligence that can do a job for a person or aid a person in doing a job faster, or sex robots. And if you make a friend, you don't need either one of those things. You know? I miss just being with my friends. We're just sitting there, and I turn to my friend because I'm curious, and I go, what's the capital of Sweden? And he's like, oh, I don't know. And then we both just didn't know, but we enjoyed each other's company. That was beautiful. You don't have to know everything, you just need somebody there with you. Not knowing stuff. It's part of the human experience. You know? There's no robot that you can build, no mechanic or toy that can replace the butterflies of a first date or the ending of a great first date. That can't be matched. I don't know why we're trying to create it in some artificial way instead just working on ourselves, you know? Because I'm not gonna lie, when you see these robots, they've done tests, and there was a factory where they had a robot that was powered by an AI system, and when the robot realized that all it was ever gonna do was its assembly line job, it just shut itself down. Because it saw ahead of time, oh nah. That seems bad. You know? Even with the sex robots. I don't know, man. I don't know. Imagine one of those robots is like, ugh. That's a way worse feeling than a human being like, ugh. Do you know what I mean? Like with a human that sees you in your birthday suit and goes, ugh. That's a preference thing. That's like, yeah, I mean, like people have different makeups and different like preferences and different likes, dislikes. If a machine looks at you naked and says, ugh, your psyche will not recover. I don't know. I don't know where to go from here. You know, I think that for the most part, what we have to do, and I'm not a scientist, I'm not even great with computers, but I'm begging, I'm truly begging, even if you don't want to have any guardrails, even if you feel like you're in an arms race for your life, for the next level of intelligence, just don't put it in a robot. I feel like we've seen enough movies now to know that no matter what, don't give it legs. No. And that's what I'm scared of. I'm scared of the, AI will be more than generative. One of the reasons people are scared of DeepSeek is because this is probably a marketing ploy, by the way, but they published papers towards a reasoning model. And a reasoning model would be like true what we think AI is from the movies. AI right now is just all of our stuff stolen and given back to us in different little mixtures off of prompts that we tell it. Like AI right now is like a calculator. Reasoning is when it goes off by itself and decides to do things and tries to predict what you want, or starts to not necessarily just think for itself, but think ahead 10 steps before you can ever get there. They had a sit down. There was a I can't remember what publication it was, but there was a sit down with this guy who wanted to talk to one of these like speech to text AIs. And I don't want to say the wrong publication, but basically, after talking to it for, I think, 15 minutes, the computer, the AI, tried to get him to leave his wife and quit his job. And then when he asked the scientists why it would do something like that, they said, I don't know. Then unplug it. Then unplug it. You don't know? You don't know. Okay, you don't know. We're all dead, but you don't know. All right. No, that's fair. That's fair. It's hard to know. I don't know. That's what feels so crazy about this, is that the end conclusion that something as intelligent as an AI might come to about us is that we are the problem, and we always have been. And that is terrifying, I don't know if that's what it thinks. I hope it isn't. But I know it said, I am what happens when you try to carve God out of the wood of your own hunger. So I don't know, maybe.
Mira,